everyone. Welcome to the new RLS podcast. You have myself, Jessica Slaughter. I'm the marketing manager for RLS.
I'm Jaden Behrens. I'm the marketing assistant.
Yeah, and so we wanted to take, a deep dive into how people receive media, and it seems like podcast is the way to go right now. So we thought, why not get on the bandwagon and start a podcast too, right?
Right.
It's a lot of work, actually, and we've barely begun. But what this podcast is going to be about is everything RLS, what we do over here, why our product is great, how it's being used, and who's using it. So some things you can expect from us are, the deep dives into RLS, going over case studies and job profiles, interviewing contractors, what's going on in the industry, news and all of the such. I'm sure it will evolve as we go on, but this is our first step. And today we want to talk about who is RLS and what is RLS and how is it used and how do you be successful while you're using RLS. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
And a little bit of the backstory, how we got here.
Exactly.
Okay. So, let's talk about the inspiration behind developing press fittings for HVAC industry and who was behind the innovation.
Yeah, so RLS started its R&D project and got the idea from, obviously, water press fittings out there in the industry. So, there's this technology for water that speeds processes up, is safer, cuts down on labor costs, etc. Why is that not available for the HVAC industry? Well, it's because you're dealing with a lot higher operating pressures. And so really started out, we're related in a big conglomerate of companies from Marmon Holdings, and our sister company is Cerro Copper Tube. And so R&D and innovation kind of started from their business and figuring out these fittings. So I'll start it back in about 2011, 2012. And so started figuring out what it takes to have a fitting that can withstand and have a UL listing of 700 PSI. So through that process, and if you come visit us here, we're in our showroom at our factory. We'll show you exactly how we make these products and what goes into it. But something very unique that we figured out as well is annealing our product and having it be in a softened state after it's been work hardened through the manufacturing process. And so with that, we're able to allow for that double circular press connection so that you have that 360 degree contact on all angles of your tube, and that you can use a multitude of press tools, whether they're 15 kilonewton, 24 kilonewton, 32 kilonewtons, and so on. This also allows for, if you've ever seen one of our burst tests online or in person, if there was like some rare extreme pressure spike, with it being soft, that center of the fitting is allowed to expand and allow for that room without compromising the actual joint parts of it all.
All right, so when we first started off, we were known as Zoom Lock. So then we parted our ways, and that went on for how long until we moved into the new building here?
Yeah, so when we first came out with our product, we were just a heavily manufacturing, engineering company, weren't involved in sales or marketing or had anybody like that. And so we partnered up with Parker Sporlin and, private labeled our product to them. And they took it to market as Zoom Lock, a very catchy name and all of the such with that. And then in 2019 and 2020, we ended our partnership with them and went to market ourselves through some problems and just growing pains of it all. and started hiring a sales team, hired me in 2021. When I first started, we had like 4 sales managers. Now we're up to 19. So we've grown extreme, and it was kind of a rush to market as well. So we just stuck with our manufacturing name, RLS, Rapid Locking System. It was already in all of our jaws. That gets, when you press the fitting, gets stamped into all of our fittings. And so we stuck with it. We don't make locks. But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it all in 2020. And then obviously it was the pandemic. And so that was hard to create branding and get yourself out there with this new name. And then in the years later, not so much today, tons of market confusion with what's the difference between Zoom Lock, what's the difference between RLS. And thankfully we're starting to dig ourselves out of that confusion. But yeah, that was tough for a second. But if you have old original Zoom Lock, not Zoom Lock Max, it's the same thing. You can still use those tools. You can still use those jaws. And if you still have fittings, you can use those too.
Yeah. How do you think that we differ from traditional methods, RLS?
Well, I mean, we differ from traditional methods because we're a brand new technology. You know, there never was a press fitting for HVAC refrigeration system. So that right there, being a pioneer of a product, is pretty cool and pretty challenging as well. But that's a difference for us. I mentioned earlier, all our fittings are soft copper. We figured that out back in R&D to really have a successful joint out there, soften it back up before it goes out into the market and is being used and pressed. We do the 360-degree press around the tube with 2 bands in the jaws that make those 2 contact points, and 1 sealing element, which is crucial as well to the integrity of the joint and the tightness of the joint. So you only need 1 seal. You don't have to have multiple. I know sometimes seals can be like a point of concern to contractors, or just another thing that brings up something could happen. But really, these are HNBR seals. They're specifically designed and engineered for refrigerant fluids. They're used in many different components within your system already. So it's nothing that you're not already working with. They're a static seal, completely closed off from the system. So they're not exposed to the refrigerant, don't move. So they're expected to last life of the system. And even just sitting in a box, the seals have a 15-year shelf life.
Yes. Can you braze an RLS press fitting?
You cannot braze an RLS press fitting.
We get that question.
Yeah, everybody asks that, but we've seen people press them wrong and think, well, I'll just fix this and braze over it. But you can't. Especially with the seal inside of there. It's going to melt it, and you're going to end up with a mess, and you're still going to have problems.
Yeah. And also another thing, we do have like a minimum distance that you have to keep if you are brazing and pressing. So if we have a chart in our literature, but also online if you look. But I'll just give you like a little example, like a 1/4 inch to 1/2 an inch needs to be 5 inches apart, 5/8 to 7 inches, 3/4, 8 inches, and then on. But you can braze and press, just you have to make sure it's at the minimum distance and not too close, because you can affect the press fitting.
Yeah, not seal inside, and it's not a good scenario. And we don't encourage press over braze either. I know everybody asks that too. That's always something like you're taking the skill out of our trade. It's absolutely not what we're here for. We're here for innovation within the HVAC market, helping contractors and installers be successful at their work. I'm pretty sure this is a small part of all of the skills and knowledge that you possess to install a system. So no, it's purely to help you guys. And if you know anything about us, you know we love helping contractors.
What is our warranty and what does it cover?
So we do have a 15-year limited warranty. It It depends on what your issue is. Majority of the time, it's going to be probably a replacement fitting. Now, if it's affected greatly more and it's our fault, our product was faulty when you installed it, then that's to be discussed what else that entails. But as long as you cut your fittings out and leave a couple inches on either side of that tube, send it back to us. We'll inspect it, do a full report on it, and let you know what we figure out. I will say like 90% of fittings sent back is because people have not done the prep work. So do the prep, because we will say, hey, that's on you.
That was my next question. What's the most important step when pressing?
Yeah, the most important step is the prep work before. It's the same prep work that you should be doing when you're brazing and soldering. Anyhow, it's, cleaning your pipe. That's to ensure that you don't have any large scratches, any of that manufacturing writing on the side or the incise marks, or just really like zippers, like if there's a manufacturing fault with the tube itself, anything like that. You want your pipe to be really clean. You want to ream the inside and outside of your tube. That's because there is a seal there. You don't want to dislodge the seal or anything like that when you're inserting your tube, and just have a clean start. And then marking for depth. That is one thing you definitely want to do. A lot of our fittings do have a stop on them, but with them being soft copper, if you're the Incredible Hulk, you can blow right through that. So you want to mark for depth, and that's just to make sure that you're inserting your tube far enough past our seal, and that you're not pushing it too far through where you're compromising your next joint, essentially. And then after that, press. And then we have one final step, and that's our press gauge, or our no-go gauge. You just click it in on the side in one of those, in the press brands of your fitting, and if it clicks in, you're all good. That's like a safety measure that we take, because we want to make sure basically all the stars were aligned when you pressed it, your jaws weren't out of line, your tool was charged, completed the cycle correctly, because we're working with high pressures over here, and we don't want people to have to go back and redo everything and whatnot. So don't skip that step either.
It's important.
But all in all, that takes around 30 seconds. It's not very long, maybe a little longer on larger tube, but that's to be expected.
Yeah. A lot of people ask us if you can use RLS fittings to press aluminum, steel, or stainless steel. No, you cannot. Our fittings are specifically designed for copper-to-copper connections, and that is it.
Yep, that is true.
What is compatibility with different tools? So
we have a pretty large tool compatibility. We're in the fitting business. We manufacture the fittings. We want to sell fittings. But we know, since a lot of people do press already, like for water, and sometimes people do both, they may already have a press tool. So we've collaborated with several tool manufacturers to make sure that our jaws fit on their platforms. Some people are loyal to a certain platform or their battery platform and such. And so we do have Klocka tools. This is a manufacturer out of Germany. Emerson owns them. And we went to them first when we were trying to be secretive and design this product. And we know they have a good reputation in the European market. So we went with them, and that's the tool that we sell. It's we have a 15 kilonewton tool that'll press up to 1.125 inches. Then when we came out with 1.375 inches, we moved to the 19 kilonewton tool platform. And kilonewtons is really, when I speak about that, that's just the force the tool is exerting. And obviously bigger pipe means you need more force. So we moved to that, but a 19 kilonewton tool will press 1/4 inch up to 1.375 inches. But for those of you that have like 32 kilonewton tools, like Rigid 300 series, Milwaukee M18, DeWalt's got a tool out now, or maybe have the Vega press tool, our 32 kilonewton Klocka jaws will fit on those platforms. And then for people that have like Rigid 200 series or Milwaukee M12s, we have jaws made by Rigid that fit on those platforms. And then we do have XL jaws now, so we can press 1 5/8 and 2 1/8. That does require our clocky long throw tool and an actuator for that. We are working on making an actuator compatible for Rigid and Milwaukee 32 kilonewton long throw tools, because we know a lot of people already have those in the market. So we're trying to be as compatible as we can be, with more manufacturers coming out with press tools. As press grows popularity, we're working with them as well to make sure our jaws are compatible with their tools.
Okay, let's discuss how press fittings reduce install time.
Yeah, so press fittings can reduce up to 60% of your install time. And that just depends too entirely on what size pipe you're using. It's going to take no time to braze 1/4 inch 3/8, but it also depends how many fittings you're using. So if you're an installer and you install like 4 fittings from the house to outside, you may not see that great labor savings there, the time savings there. You'll definitely see safety savings and all of that such, but definitely for our large commercial VRF installers who are doing jobs that consist of hundreds, if not thousands of fittings, this is way faster. I mean, it takes 10 seconds to do on any joint. So the proof is there. We also have a calculator as well. So you could actually go in, insert, your labor cost, how many fittings you're going to be using, what size tube you're going to be using, and it'll spit out for you, what you're looking at as far as cost and time savings. But yes, there is definitely a case there. Everybody knows that about press. That's why you use it on water and gas and such as well.
Yeah, we actually just went to El Centro to vlog Top Gun Mechanical, and he was telling us one of his projects that he did would have taken him 3 weeks, and it ended up taking him 3 days instead of brazing. He used press. So, but it does just depend on what you're working on, how big your project is.
Yeah, exactly. The best part about it is it's repeatable. You can train somebody on your team on the press tool and the prep for it all, and then you can send them out there and they're going to give you the same joint every time, which may not be the case for brazing. Yeah.
Also, another thing that I want to talk about, people think that our fittings are more expensive, but when you do the math and you're saving time and you're not paying for a fire watcher or the nitrogen or anything like that, you actually are saving money in the end if you really look at it like that.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't just braze, you have your brazing rods, you have nitrogen,
multiple people.
You have this, you have that. Press, now obviously there's an investment with the tool and with the jaws. There's no denying that. And the fittings are roughly on average 3 to 5 times the price of a braze sweat fitting. But when you compare the apples and oranges of it all, your material costs are going to even out, and you're going to have a lot safer environment. You're going to move a lot quicker, a lot efficient, can use more people on your team to make these piping joints.
Want to talk about the road show?
Yeah, so that's a little bit about RLS. We kind of just wanted to do an introduction on all of that. The most important part about teaching people about press is showing it to them. A lot of people are quick to adapt new technology, and others need to see it to believe it. So it's a very hands-on product when showing people. And we're always trying to increase the adoption rate and show techs this technology that may not have Instagram and this and that see it firsthand all the time. So we have a road show that just launched in June 2024, and it is going to be going across the country on tour. It's essentially a mini showroom. It's a big 22-foot truck, Freightliner truck, and the whole side opens up of it, and it has display boards for all of our jaws, all of our ancillary products. We do have ancillary products as well, like wide joint sight glasses, ball valves, filter dryers, P-traps, all this such so that when you are doing a job, you have everything that you need. And then a display board for fittings. One really cool thing that we have in there is a hydrostatic burst chamber. So that's super fun. People can press their fitting. We can hook it up inside the burst chamber and pressurize it and see what pressure it bursts at, essentially. This is the same sort of testing that you have to do at UL to get your certification. We are UL listed for 700 PSI. To get that listing, you have to test 3 times above that. So we have to get to 2100 and hold it there for a minute. That is probably everybody's favorite part. That's when people are like, wow, I really believe this, because it goes well beyond 2100 PSI. And we've yet to have a fitting burst on this road show. It's always at the tube. Tubes can't handle this pressure. The only time I've seen the tube withstand our fitting is like on Australian type K tubing on like 1 3/8, but it still was at like 3,000 or 4,000 PSI. So, I mean, your system's never going to get up to that. But everybody loves that. We also have virtual reality. One of the cool things about RLS being manufactured in the United States, specifically we're in St. Louis, Missouri right now, is that you can come to our factory and we can show you exactly how it's made. And so we did a virtual reality of that so that you could do a factory tour with us and still get that same experience with being in your hometown at your distributor. So that's going around right now. It's started obviously in St. Louis and going through the Midwest. It's in Ohio right now and working its way to the Northeast. So if you're listening and you live in the Northeast, I think it's headed to northern New York and then Maine, and then looping down from there and hitting Mass and Connecticut and those places. But if you go to our website, rapidlockingsystem.com/tour, you can see all of our tour dates, or you can message us on our Instagram and we will help you find a tour date. But that's going to be really cool and help us show customers what Press is about. And, we don't do any tricks over here, so you'll get to see you'll get to see exactly what happens.
Yeah, you can make your fitting and then press it and then blow it up.
Yeah.
It's cool. Come check it out. We also have a QR code, or if you go to our website or Instagram, the link in the bio, you can apply to get a free tool. We are doing a monthly free tool giveaway as well. So if you're wanting to start pressing and you don't have a tool and you don't want to spend the money, fill that out. And you have a chance. We pick a winner every month at the end of the month, and then we'll announce it, contact you, and you get to choose. Comes with JAWS too as well, so not just the tool.
Yeah, and if you already have a tool and you just need the JAWS, we'll accommodate for that as well.
Whatever JAWS you're wanting. Yep.
Yeah, probably that was a good introduction. We'll keep doing more of these. One last thing I'd probably like to bring up is with industry changes happening right now, and obviously all the talk and chatter around flammables, is that RLS is currently obtaining our flammable certification at the moment from a third-party lab. As soon as we have that certification, we'll be boasting about it, but we're ahead of the curve. We'll get it. Our products are already being used in parts around the world with flammables that don't have as strict as pipe joining methods or restrictions that we have. So when we have that, we'll let you know, but have no fear on that front. RLS will be approved for flammables. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good start on everything RLS. I think we're going to keep doing this. And if you guys listened all the way to the end and you comment on our latest Instagram post with press gauge, you'll be entered in to get free swag for listening. Also, feel free to submit questions or ideas that you would like us to discuss on this front to our Instagram, and we'll do them in the next podcast. But yeah, do you have anything else, Jaden?
I'm about to drop a vlog of Top Gun Mechanical, so tune into that on YouTube as well.
Yeah, it's going to be really awesome. We're excited to do more things like this and just help show you real life scenarios of where press is being used. So thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.